The Fish of Lijiang. The protagonist is a man who suffered a PNFD2 and his boss asked him to have a rehabilitation. The protagonist decides to go to Lijiang, which he has been there 10 years ago. In his journey, he meets a lady who is a nurse. He thought they could be together. However, the last of the journey, the nurse is a part of the rehabilitation. She explains to the protagonist the reason why he suffered in PNFD2 and tell him she was working in the time care unit. The protagonist finally figured out the truth, however, he accepted. A reflective question between free will and determinism is raised. At the beginning of the story, the protagonist is requested to choose left or right feet. He chooses both left feet, even he has a chance to change his mind. However, the feet disappear. Then he wakes up. The dream he made is the first time the protagonist needs to make a decision in the story. I think this dream is an effective way to draw the reader's attention and help deliver the main idea of the story. In the reality, everything is not real, such as the blue sky, the dog, the man, the fish, even the relationship between the nurse and him. As the nurse and him is yin and yang, they need each other to complete the rehabilitation. All the things such as the Nazi music is prepared for his rehabilitation, which means it's determinism. He is determined as lab mice. Actually, the dream brought out the message that we don't have a choice, as whatever you choose, you may not get what you want. In this story, the protagonists take place as lovers and soldiers according to the 7th age of man, and his position in society and life goals also target the intimate relationships. From the story, we could know the protagonist is a hard-working person as he was a worker of the month and he worked very hard that makes him feel exhausted. Besides that, while he is having his rehabilitation, he tries to develop a relationship with the nurse he met. I think this makes a contrast with the human nature, as a man who experiencing the social spirit would like to have more freedom to let him chase for his dream. I think this could highlight the disappointment of the protagonist when he realized the truth. And this story mainly focuses on the relationship between the protagonist and the nurse. In the story, the nurse and him build up their relationship through getting to know each other. The narrator thought they could be a couple. However, the nurse is only a friend with benefits. Because the nurse needs to rehab through interacting with the protagonist, and the nurse make him feel confused. Sometimes the protagonist loves her, but sometimes he hates her. And she seems familiar with the protagonist, which makes him feel fear. And the change of the protagonist's feelings could be a guidance to the reader to make the story more mysterious. The emotion of the protagonist changed from the beginning to the end. At the beginning, the protagonist is full of anger and very impatient. However, when he realizes the truth, he knows that all the things is determined. At the last of the story, he accepts the truth and becomes patient. And skepticism, which is one of the great philosophy, is applied in this story, as the protagonist is not familiar with the surrounding environment. At the last, he finally figured out the fish in the river is not real. The strategy of plot of this story is free at plot. I think it is quite hard to define the situation. I think the author could exaggerate the turning of the plot. And I appreciate that the narrator have explained all the things in one sentence at the end of the story. It is clear and create a good mood after reading it. And the narrator choose to use first-person protagonist. I think it is a good method to emphasize the feeling and the thought of the protagonist. Moreover, it would be a mystery story to the reader as they are also not knowing what's going on as the protagonist. The language is casual in this story because it contains some foul language which could help emphasize the anger, and I think it is fit for the protagonist as he is very impatient, and the quantity of the dialogue is enough. We could clearly know the relation between the nurse and the protagonist through the dialogue. However, before the nurse appeared, the author used a very long passage to describe the protagonist's feelings. I thought it could be better if the writer could express the background and feelings of the protagonist by using chatting. It would be more interesting. The protagonist is the everyman, which is similar to the reader, which makes the reader think that it is more related to them. And the protagonist is unfortunate as he suffered in the mental illness, which makes the protagonist don't look too perfect. And the nurse is an eye candy to the protagonist because she is attracting him. The time is not specific stated, but I guess it's near future. Although there are some new technologies such as the robot and talking dog which can deliver message, it is still using plane as a transportation instead any more advanced technology. And the story is take place in Lijiang, which looks like an ancient city, but it is a electronic digital world.